Hey, it's FreakyDude99 and we are in the brand new season of The Witch, so that means new builds. Of course, with this new season we've received new Strand aspects for each class, and specifically for the Titans, they receive Banner of War. This aspect is one of the most fun and powerful aspects for Strand, and it makes this melee Titan build absolutely perfect for new content. As with all my builds, there's a picture at the end along with a dim link in the description for easy copying. Without further ado, let's jump into the build. Starting off in the subclass, we have our Super Blade Fury. It gives 90% damage resist and a base duration of 24 seconds. The light attack is strong and deals 25% increased damage to suspended enemies, and its attack speed can be increased by 100% after 3 attacks. Heavy attacks send 2 homing projectiles that suspend and recharge on light attack hit. For our class ability, we have Rally Barricade, as it grants 30 stability, 100 reload speed, 0.9 times reload duration multiplier, 10% increased damage fall off, and 50% flinch resistance while standing behind it. Its cooldown is almost half than Towering Barricade, making it more usable in combat, and the Barricade gives 20% damage resist while casting it, and it lasts for 20 seconds and has 500 HP. We got Frenzied Blade for our melee ability. It inherently has 3 charges and recharges faster the more charges you have. 1 melee charge gives 25% faster melee regen, and 2 melee charges gives 50% faster melee regen. So trying to maintain 2 charges and only using that third is difficult but rewarding. This melee itself dashes and slashes towards an enemy, dealing damage and applying Sever. Sever decreases an enemy's outgoing damage by 40% for 10 seconds, 15 seconds with Thread of Continuity. For a grenade, we are choosing Shackle Grenade. We throw out a bola that explodes and applies Suspend, and releases 2 smaller bolas that fly towards enemies, dealing less damage and applying Suspend as well. Enemies suspended can't do anything for 5 seconds, 7 with continuity, mini-bosses are only suspended for 3 seconds, 4 with continuity, and bosses are immune and instead receive another instance of damage after a second. For our first aspect, we have Into the Fray. Upon destroying a tangle, release 3 pulses restoring 10 HP and granting Woven Mail to all allies every 2 seconds. And on Supercast, grant surrounding allies Woven Mail. While you have Woven Mail, you gain 400% additional base melee regen, and Woven Mail itself grants 55% damage resist for 10 seconds, but precision and melee hits bypass it. Keeping Woven Mail up is important for the melee regen and survivability. Making a tangle and throwing it at our feet is always smart, as the health and Woven Mail can save us in the worst of situations. Next up, we have the brand new aspect Banner of War that is sure to cause trouble in the sandbox. Upon sword, melee, or glaive melee takedown or finisher, raise a banner on you for 15 seconds, buffing us and our allies within 10 meters. Takedowns by anyone inside empower and extend the duration of Banner of War up to a max of ×4 Banner of War for 30 seconds. The banner itself grants 1 stack for every 2 enemies defeated within 20 meters by you or your allies. Last stack requires 3 takedowns. Each takedown increases the duration by 5 seconds, but for each stack after the first, it decreases the duration extension by 1 second. So at ×4 Banner of War, each takedown only increases the duration by 2 seconds. The banner will restore 20 HP every 2.5 seconds, with each stack decreasing the delay by 0.5 seconds. So at ×4 Banner of War, it heals you every 1 second. And mainly, it grants 40% increased melee damage, 25% increased glaive melee damage, and 10% increased sword damage. These do not stack with other banners, but the healing does. Down to the fragments, we have Thread of Fury. Dealing damage with tangles grants melee energy per instance. This can easily give a full melee charge back when thrown into a group of enemies. Next, Thread of Warding. So on Orb of Power pickup, we get Woven Mail. While we have Into the Fray, it's better to guarantee Woven Mail all the time rather than some of the time. We also have Thread of Continuity, which generally increases Strand debuffs to be 50% longer. And finally, Thread of Generation, which upon dealing damage, grant grenade ability energy for each damage instance. This gets our Shackle Grenade back crazy fast. Now, moving on to the weapons, things are flexible. With us now in the 3rd Strand season, there's plenty of Strand weapons to now choose from. Of course, everything comes down to the content you're running. If there's no champions like in Savathun's Spire and Altars of Summoning, then run whenever is fun. If you're running content with champions, then make sure you're covering them. We have anti-barrier auto rifles and bows, overload hand cannons and machine guns, and unstoppable scout rifles and fusion rifles, along with a bunch of other exotic weapons that all have intrinsic champion perks. The main weapon you're going to want to run on you at all times will be the shotgun with 1-2 punch. Upon scoring a hit with all pellets, grant 100% increased base melee damage and 40% increased charged melee damage. Bosses receive 25% more melee damage stacked on top. This fits into the build beautifully, and there are so many shotguns that can roll with 1-2 punch, so you probably have one lying around. For me, Ikelo's shotgun is fantastic as it's a rapid fire frame and it's craftable, so it has the best ammo economy and you can guarantee the rolls on it. And it's just wonderful because you can get as many 1-2 punches off as you want with how much special ammo drops and how much you can actually use. And then there's some great Strand weapons like Circular Logic, Until Its Return, Thin Precipice, Rufus's Fury, Semiotation, Nox Perennial V. As long as you have the shotgun, you can run whatever else you want. With sword damage increasing from the banner, running the Lament is also not a bad idea, as that 10% increased sword melee damage is nothing to laugh at. Moving on to the artifact perks, we may not be able to select all of them right now, but I'll still say what you should run once you can. Starting off, we run 3 anti-champion mods for whatever the content requires. It's easy to swap these around if need be, and the perks grant the weapons overcharge, which is a 25% damage increase in overcharged activities. Then we grab a Strand Siphon combo depending on what other element we're using in our energy or heavy slot. And then we also grab Origin Perk Specialization 1, which improves the Origin traits from Season of the Deep and Witch, Neomuna, and Crota's End weapons. We also pick up Origin Perk Specialization 2, which gives a 25% damage increase in overcharged activities to those weapons. And then as well, Thanatotic Tangles make Strand Weapon Final Blows spawn a Tangle after enough defeats. This can trigger on any Strand Weapon Final Blow, even if you're not on Strand. For the 4th column, we will grab Overload Machine Gun, which also overcharges machine guns in overcharged activities. We also grab Elemental Fury, which makes stunned champions take more ability damage and damage from elemental orbs. And then Communal Pickups makes it so ally interactions with Tangles you spawn decrease your cooldown by 5 seconds and grant a ×3 matching weapon surge for 11 seconds, which is a 17% damage increase. If you don't need to run Overload Machine Gun, then take it off and slap on Refreshing Pickups instead, so on Tangle Pickup grant 33% ability energy to the least charged ability. And then for the 5th and final column, there's so many good choices to choose from, but we only have 2 perks unfortunately. So Monochromatic Maestro unfortunately doesn't work with Strand, so instead we are going to be taking Elemental Munitions, which on enemy defeat with Tangles we have a 20 to 33% chance to spawn a special or heavy ammo finder brick. Chances are independent for both bricks, so they can both spawn at once. Ammo finder bricks also give less ammo than regular bricks, and then we have frenzied stacks, so while we have an armor charge, our thrown tangles deal increased damage per charge. 30% at 1 charge, 60% at 2 charge, and 90% at 3 charges. Throwing the tangle doesn't take away the armor charges as well. And with that, we're done with the artifact. Lastly, we move on to the armor. Starting with the helmet, we have Font of Wisdom for a +30 in intellect while we have an armor charge. We also have hands-on, so melee defeats grant bonus super energy, and then Harmonic Siphon, so every 2 Strand Weapon Final Blows we spawn an Orb of Power. These mods let us get our super back as quickly as possible, plus the orbs we spawn are always helpful. Quickly touching on what stats we want to focus, we're first picking Resilience for the 30% damage resist and lowest cooldown on our class ability Barricade. Next, we grab Discipline so we can throw as many shackle grenades as possible for the suspend and add clear, and then Strength the last so we can get our Frenzied Blade back as quick as possible. Onto our gauntlets, we have the exotic Synthoceps on. It passively increases melee lunge distance to 7 meters, and while within 15 meters of 3+ enemies, grant biotic enhancements. Biotic enhancements increase super damage by 50%, melee damage by 200%, and glaive melee damage by 50%. This plus 1-2 punch Plus, Banner of War stacks our melee damage to insane amounts when everything procs. We can just one-shot champions and bosses and easily destroy anything remotely strong. For the mods, we have Font of Vigor, which gives a plus 30 in strength while we have an armor charge. Focusing Strike gives 20% class ability energy on melee hit, and Momentum Transfer gives 20% melee energy on grenade damage. Over to the chest armor, we make sure to grab 2 elemental resistance mods depending on the activity's threat modifier. So a solar threat would mean you put on 2 solar resistances, and then for the third mod, put on any other resistance like a void resist or a concussive dampener. Down to the legs, we run a scavenger mod depending on our 1-2 punch shotgun. I'm running I Kill a shotgun, which means I run a solar scavenger. This is so we can make sure we always have ammo for our shotgun. And then we have invigoration, so on orb of power pickup, we grant 10% melee energy, and on orb pickup with recuperation, we also get health. And finally for the mark, we have bomber and outreach, which grant 12% grenade and melee energy on barricade use, and then Font of Restoration gives plus 30 to recovery while we have an armor charge. And that does it for the build. Now let's break down the specifics. This build works on the principle of shotgun melee everything. Since we have to get close, survivability is key, so we get that Banner of War up to ×4, we get Woven Mail, and we activate Synthocept's biotic enhancements. And then we 1-2 punch an enemy with our Frenzied Blade melee. This combo causes disgusting amounts of damage and is able to one-shot most yellow bar enemies. Since you have 3 melee charges, you can just wombo combo a boss into oblivion with ease. With all the damage we cause, we get our Shackle Grenade back super quickly, which we use to add clear groups of enemies or suspend a major or elite enemy. Make sure you use your melees first, then your grenade because of Momentum Transfer, followed by Barricade because of Bomber and Outreach. So ability cycle is melee, grenade, barricade. Some other notes are throw tangles at your feet for insta heal and Woven Mail. This will save your life, I guarantee. A good strat is to just dive into enemies while throwing a tangle, so you proc Threat of Fury for the melee energy, as well as get the Woven Mail and heal all at the same time. And that'll do it for the build. Season of the Witch has just begun, and I can already tell there's so many builds I want to make and cover. I'm truly so happy to see so many more people subscribing and watching these vids, as I love making them, and I put a lot of time and research into providing these videos for you, and making sure that these builds are up to my standards and up to your standards. This is definitely going to be a really strong build throughout the season, so make sure to use it as much as possible. If you haven't, be sure to check out my recap video on the Final Shape Showcase, as there is lots of info announced and you'll want to be sure to know what's coming up. Be sure to hit that subscribe button to not miss any of my future builds, and leave a like if you enjoyed this one. Thank you everybody so much for watching. I have been FreakyDude99, and I'll see you in the next video. Peace out everyone.